Welcome to Reflections, a program produced by the Outreach Committee of Paducah Cooperative Ministry. I'm your host, Jim Toy, and our current series of programs is focusing on mission projects affiliated with local churches. My guest today is Ralph Young, and he's going to be sharing with us lots of information on a program called Living Waters for the World. But before we talk about the program, Ralph, share with us a little bit about your background. I know you came to Paducah in the 1980s, I believe. Share a little with us about your person.
Jim. I'm an engineer by trade, and our family moved to Paducah back in 1982. And my wife and two children, son and daughter, moved to Paducah. It was going to be a big change for us, but somehow we managed, and we've been living here ever since. And now I'm retired and looking forward to staying in Paducah. But when we moved here, I was an engineer, like I said, and moved to one of the plants at Calvert City and worked up there with air products and chemicals for over 25 years. When I finished up there, I was the environmental manager, kind of keeping an eye on the environmental regulations and all those other things that were applying to all the chemical companies across the United States and across the world. So I was intimately involved in at least the corporate side of environmental compliance and making the world just a little bit better.
Well, that's a very good segue into our program and what you do with Living Waters for the World. Talking about that first, let's do a little history on it. Who started Living Waters for the World? When did it begin? How long has it been around?
Well, Living Waters for the World is a mission program of the Synod of Living Waters, which is a regional thing within the Presbyterian Church USA. Normally, missions are run by a central church committee or whatever, but this is just a regional committee. And it really sprang out of the Hunger Action Enablers group. That is, they had a hunger mission, and as they were doing their mission projects focusing on hunger, they found that, hey, there's a lot bigger problem out here involving people all over the world, and that is access to clean water. And they found that the statistics out there are really alarming, that over 3 billion people around the world do not have access to clean water. And I've seen some statistics that say children are most vulnerable to not having access, and in some cases they're dying like every 30 seconds or whatever around the world from waterborne preventable type diseases.
Do you know some of the diseases that are involved with unclean water, some things that, and particularly that maybe children are particularly vulnerable to?
Oh yeah, and it's things that we just take for granted in the U.S. because our babies are vaccinated against all these diseases early on, but it's typhoid, diphtheria, cholera, all those kind of awful things that in the United States we wiped out, over hundreds of years ago.
You say this is a program of the Synod, which, like you said, is a regional level of the Presbyterian Church USA. It's interesting that it was developed there rather on the national level.
That's correct.
How long do you know exactly when the
started? It started in the late '80s, and like I said, the Synod would do projects themselves, but they found out there was a limited cadre of people that could do water projects, and they could only do like 4 or 5 projects a year. But it was in the early 2000s, about 2003 or 4, that the Living Waters for the World mission made a step change and found out and said, rather than doing all the projects ourselves, we can train other people on how to do this project. And from then, the mission jumped from having like 25 water systems in like 10 or 20 countries to the present day, where we have like 347 projects that are in 24 countries around the world.
That's big numbers.
Yeah.
Now, as far as the training for this, does the regional group or the Synod, are they responsible for all training, or has it branched out that this is now overseen by the national organization of the Presbyterian Church.
No, this is still very much a Synod project.
And they are located in Tennessee, is that
That's
not
right,
correct?
Franklin, Tennessee.
Okay.
But we are getting national recognition.
Absolutely.
I just got back from our National General Assembly convention, and in the past people would come by the booth and want more information and know about it. Now when people came by our booth, they said, hey, I know about Living Waters for the World, and I want information because I want our church to be able to do this.
So for people who don't know, the Presbyterian Church does things, our byword or our catchphrase is to do things decently and in order. And the church organizes from the local level, then to the presbytery, then to the synod, then to the General Assembly.
Right.
So this is located at the synod level. Tell us a little bit about how they are able to reach out nationally. How do they train? And
Yeah.
you may get into, we're going to talk about an installation, an actual project in a minute, but what is involved in the training? And I would think that your background here as an engineer has been very helpful.
Yeah, and the training is really what has made a difference in the mission, overall, because we do focus on relationships. When you go on these mission trips, it's not just like a weekend deal where you're painting or doing some do-gooder type project and then leave quickly and feel good for about a week. We actually expect that you establish relationships with the church or the entity that you're working with in country, and it's really a 4-year process that you go through. And so, we're talking about life-changing experiences and lifelong relationships that are built with people and churches and that kind of thing.
Excellent. So are you, going back to the training aspect, is that all done in Franklin, Tennessee?
No, actually it's done at Camp Hopewell, and this is a church camp in Mississippi. And when we have training down there, it lasts about 4.5 days. And we have 3 tracks of training. One focuses on the project or mission team leadership and water quality testing and relationship building. A second component of the training focuses on health and hygiene education. You can have the greatest water system in the world, but if people are not educated on how to use the water and on the benefits of it, you don't have a project at all. And then, of course, the third team or course down there is the engineering one, where you actually put this water system together and do it's all hands-on type stuff.
I've seen pictures of a system in Presbyterian materials that I've read, and it looks fairly simple. Is the system itself, the people, if you're going into a country that has unclean water, then you assume it's kind of primitive. So you can go in and put a system in a, I don't know, for lack of a better word, primitive area, and they're able to operate it, use it, and benefit from it.
And basically what you need to have a system is a source of contaminated water. We don't drill wells or build water infrastructure, but we take an existing source of water and then process it through a simple system that is basically filtration, microfiltration, and disinfection using either ultraviolet light or ozone.
So when you set the system up, but then the operation of that system long term goes to the people that you've set it up for.
Yeah, and one of the keys to our mission is that we do not set the system up. We train them on how to build the system from scratch. And these are basic materials that you'd find in any swimming pool supplier's store or distribution center. We're working with 1-inch PVC pipe. We're working with filters, a pump that might be 1 horsepower in size, and this is all off-the-shelf things that are available in the United States quite readily.
See, that's interesting for me, because assumptions are dangerous, and I had assumed that the mission team went in and installed this for the people.
No.
And
in fact, the training is focused on the train-the-trainer model, so that when you go down there, they are the ones doing the hands-on training.
Right.
They are doing the hands-on operation and maintenance of the system, and also they're doing the education of the people. So we're training trainers so that they can go out and do the mission themselves within their own confines of their site.
Now, you've said that it's a simple system. I think it's interesting that it could be bought at a pool supply shop. What longevity do you expect out of the system? In other words, will you have to go back in 5 years and redo it, update it, or anything?
Well, part of our model for the mission is that teams, once they do an installation, are required to go back 1 year after that installation and check on it and do a physical kind of revisiting and evaluation of the system after 1 year and also after 2 years. And we found that after that, people can be pretty self-sustaining and change their own filters, and if they have problems, they're pretty creative in country.
So I've got 2 questions for you. One, where you install the system, the people will have access to the materials they need for long-term sustaining of the system. And my second, you've nodded yes, I'm sorry I didn't let you answer. The second was, what kind of population area are you talking about? How many people can a typical Living Waters for the World system serve?
Yeah, what happens is we do our systems in batch. And so we're making 300 gallons of water at a time. And one of the things that we emphasize in the health and hygiene training is that this water is to be used only for drinking, dental care, cooking, and also care of infants and children. It's not for washing dishes, bathing, those kind of things. They are critical uses of water, but they may not always lead to diseases and that kind of thing.
Okay.
So we emphasize that in the training. And so when you're looking at that scale of project, you can serve communities of like 500 to maybe 1,000 people.
How do you decide where to go? Do people apply for this, or and I assume, is this still all handled by the Synod of the Living Waters? Do they handle all the placement, the selection, and so forth?
No, one of the things that we've gone to, and is one of the key also changes in our mission, is that now we are focused on networks of systems. And so we have set up networks in specific countries. Right now we have 8 networks set up, one in the Yucatan, Haiti, Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Nicaragua, Honduras, and we're just starting a brand new network in Ghana this year. And under a network situation, you can have a cluster of systems that will all be interdependent. They can share spare parts, they can share their technical knowledge, and in some cases, and in almost every case, we try to appoint an in-country coordinator that is kind of watches over that network in the country and can kind of float from system to system and help out where they're needed. We've seen that that's really the best formula for success and sustainability in the long term.
Okay, but how is a site chosen? Do you just identify need, or do people?
Yeah, it really started out with the church-to-church relationship.
Okay.
You know, a Presbyterian church might have had a sister church in the Yucatan, for example, and they go down there to do a vacation Bible school study, paint the church, that kind of thing, and they see everyone drinking bottled water. And they say, well, what's the matter with the water from the spigot? And it's, of course, awful. And we can test it and prove that it's awful. And that's kind of what gelled and got things started. So you start with those partnerships, and it's amazing. Once you put in one of these systems, and again, they're very simple, all of a sudden people come out of the woodwork, and they're there and they're lining up to say, hey, we want to be next, and that kind of thing.
So again, it spun off, or developed rather, out of partnerships between the local churches outside the United States.
That's correct.
And that's an interesting, again, going back to relationships and bridges and building and so forth.
And again, with the Presbyterian Church, they're connectional in nature.
Right.
And I mean, everyone is so connectional that it's like, oh, I know somebody here, I know somebody there, oh, they need a system here. And it's just amazing. And my job now as a network systems type person with Living Waters for the World part-time, I'm really the connectional matchmaker in a lot of cases, saying, oh, you want to go, this church wants to go to Haiti or wants to go to the Dominican Republic, talk to these people, and they'll line you up with somebody.
Well, even though it's a simple system, as you've said, there has to be cost involved, particularly travel for the teams that go down, which I'm sure is expensive. The system itself, somebody has to pay for it.
Yeah.
Who funds Living Waters for the World?
Well, right now it's funded by all donations from churches and the Synod. One of our hopes is that each church within our Synod might make Living Waters mission a line item within their own budget, and so that way we could have a steady source of income.
Can you give us a ballpark figure, say if you were going new into an area, you're starting from scratch, putting a team together, the cost of the system, down and back, signed, sealed, and delivered?
Yeah, the actual model that we've built for a mission would be a 4-trip model. The first trip is you go down and do a survey development trip, ask the questions, all this kind of thing, see if a site is suitable for a system. If it is, that team would negotiate a covenant with the church or the organization down there saying, hey, we will supply A, B, and C, you will supply tanks and these other things that don't fit on an airplane that we get locally. That's the first trip. The second trip is you go down and actually do the installation with all your people, and then following that installation you have a 1-year follow-up trip and then a 2nd-year follow-up trip. And if you look at that total package of all the equipment, all the trips, all the travel, it's on the order of $20,000 to $25,000.
I had a number in my head, and that's about double what I was thinking. So even though we talk simple about the system, it's not an inexpensive thing.
That's right.
A little later in the program, we're going to provide some graphics and some information. Of course, in our day and time, everything's on the web.
Oh, yes.
They can go to Living Waters for the World and find the website, and there's information there, but I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start talking, and you've talked we've talked a lot about it. How are the local people, because like I said, I'm learning a lot today, but I get a real sense it is not Americans going to a country, installing and leaving. You've already made that clear.
That's right.
To what extent, beyond your training people on system installation and operation, is there any other mission activity around a Living Waters for the World trip? Are the local people involved in any other ways that we haven't talked about?
Well, as you go through the mission trip, of course, there's all that logistical support. So, of course, you have people down there that are preparing meals and, you know, making accommodations or whatever for the team. A lot of times teams will take down more members and they may do a little construction work, a little bit of painting.
That's what I
all
was
that
wondering.
kind of stuff. And it's easy to, you know, add those kind of things, and so that you have really a pretty full mission program as you go down there.
And you've got, when a Living Waters for the World team goes in, they've got all they can handle on their plate, and that's kind of what I was guessing. So you folks, am I correct in assuming you kind of leave the Vacation Bible School, things like that, to other specific mission trips? Like you said, that may have actually been one of those trips,
right,
may have led to the need, your learning of the need, and then a Living Waters for the World team.
Yeah, we'll basically have 2 teams that go in. One is the technical team or installation. It might be 3 people, and when they get to the site, they'll pair up with somebody else there, and then they'll physically go in and jump in and start installing the system. And then we also have the education team that goes in there, and they're meeting with the teachers that they're going to train in the area, and then setting up the follow-up training so that once those teachers are trained, then they can actually do the training for kids and other students while our teachers watch and critique and you know, kind of adjust their program as it goes along.
Okay. I think we've got some video that we want to show, and you may want to make some comments and so forth about what the folks at home are saying.
This is a public service video that was shot in the Yucatan in Mexico. And again, it was just kind of the intro to the program and that kind of thing, just to get people interested. And you know,
is this again, if people want to see this again, is this video available on the website?
Yes.
Okay, we'll get a first look at it here, and then
it's on YouTube and you know, everywhere.
It's everywhere today with the web. Okay, let's kind of go through the video, and you can make some comments about the things we're seeing.
Hi, I'm Steve Young, and I'm here with some friends of mine to tell you about Living Waters for the World, a mission organization affiliated with the Presbyterian Church USA, which trains and equips mission teams to share the gift of clean water with communities in need. Communities like this one, near Campeche, Mexico, where an all-volunteer team trained by Living Waters for the World formed a strong partnership with the wonderful people from Monte Moria Church to lead health, hygiene, and spiritual education in the community, and to install a purification system that will provide affordable clean water for the first time. The world's water crisis is massive. Half the world's population lacks access to something you and I take for granted every day, clean water. And as a result, millions die each year from preventable water-related illness, and most are children. We invite you and your fellow team leaders to join us at Clean Water U, our training program, where you will learn how to build strong partnerships with those who need clean water, how to lead health and hygiene instruction, and how to install, operate, and maintain a water purification system. To learn more, go to livingwatersfortheworld.org and then come join us so that together we can dare to dream of a day where there will finally be what?
Agua limpia para todos los niños de Dios.
That's right, clean water for all God's children.
Ralph, you know, one thing I noticed about that video was, especially with the children, how vibrant and excited they looked. So many times when you do the stories and so forth on areas that are underserved, you see scenes that are, you know, kind of heartbreaking. That was all upbeat. And again, with this being a relational thing between the Synod of the Living Waters in Franklin, Tennessee, the other Presbyterian Church and stuff, I know you have to form relationships on these trips. And since, as you said, you go back multiple times, I bet it's interesting as children grow up and as you see the adults move into positions of responsibility and leadership. Tell me about some of the personal relationships that you've seen develop on your trips.
One thing that's really amazing is that one of the first pastors that we were working with back in 2003 at a local church in Merida in the Yucatan has now advanced through the hierarchy of the Presbyterian Church in Mexico to become the GA moderator. He was just elected this year, and that's like the head guy of the Presbyterian Church in Mexico.
And he was a local pastor.
That's right.
When you went in to install the Living Waters for the World system.
Right.
So he learned leadership, he
Yes.
became involved and so forth.
And I mean, the
so
connectional nature and the doors that he has opened up has been unbelievable.
And is it possible for, if you go in and when you've installed your system, it still takes a team from the U.S. Do you have, can a local group become a Living Waters for the World team and then go and install systems?
Why, sure.
All they need is funding, right?
Right. Well, there's a segment on the video that says at one of our Clean Water U sessions, there were 7 faith traditions represented there, including Rotarians.
How cool.
You know,
how cool.
And I mean, the Rotary Club, one of their major objectives for the year is to lick the water crisis and get on top of that. And so we have partnered with many Rotarians, even locally and internationally, to do systems, you know, all over the world.
Again, we see the relationships and the connectedness coming out in this, and it's, I guess it's
so I mean, this is no longer a Presbyterian mission. It's gone way beyond that. And in fact, some churches are a little bit hesitant, saying that, gee, we don't have the resources to mount a $20,000 campaign or whatever. In our case in Western Kentucky, our church partners with 37 other churches within our presbytery to form a presbytery regional team. And now we've done we're working on our third installation now.
Well, it's just very clear that the key to this is connected relationships, people getting together in the United States, in country, and that's how it all works, with people working together. I think it's interesting that a service group like Rotary has become involved. As we wrap things up, you can always use help.
Right.
Just wrapping it up pretty quickly here, how can people help?
I mean, if somebody wants to form a mission team within their own church, they can get on the website, they can get information very easily and get connected to a training session where they can get their people or their team trained up. We're always taking donations. They can be made, you know, to the mission itself, right off the website, online type of thing.
They can donate online. They can go online and send money to support this mission.
The Presbyterian women have been very supportive of our cause, and this is both at the local level and at the national level. So, I mean, there's just many ways to help.
Well, I tell you what, I have learned a lot. Like I said, I knew about the program, but I've learned so much today that it's just opened my eyes, and it's interesting that anybody watching this program can help. They may want to become involved, go to the website, learn how to volunteer, or they can simply go on there and punch a button and send money right to, and their money is going to be used to bring clean water to areas that do not have it, and that's a pretty exciting thing. So this has been educational, and we hope for the people watching that they may find it interesting and something that they want to support. The program is called Reflections. It's supported by the Outreach Committee of Paducah Cooperative Ministry. My guest today has been Ralph Young, who is a Paducah resident who has traveled abroad to install the clean water systems. And Ralph, we thank you for coming on.
Thank you.
In